Here is a Toastmaster box VN, and this is a very odd VN. It looks completely standard from the front, but it's anything that from the back. So this is I would imagine a 1990s product, and I don't know if these have any correlation to the Lakewood models in the sense that these were a copy or a knockoff of the third generation blade set. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with these. I'm much more familiar with the Lasco lineup and Lakewood lineup. I like these and I don't. I have a lot of fond memories of the brown ones from the early 2010s, and they're pretty reliable. They take a lot of hours. But on the other hand, I think the aerodynamics of the blade is pretty stupid and doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't really work the greatest. It's a very noisy fan and the airflow is just kinda okay. These shipped with, at least as far as I knew, 2 different motors. They could have come with those the Edison motor, which was like a metallic colored shaded pole motor, or they could have come with a McMillan motor, which was a 2 amp variant. I thought that the 2 amp McMillan motor was kind of a rarity, but I've been told recently from reliable sources that the McMillan motor and the Edison motor, at least in this color, are almost like a 50-50, if not more so McMillan. So, like I said, I don't know much about these really. This one's in pretty good condition. We still got the handle. It needs a good cleanup, maybe a little bit of surface rust removal. But we got the handle still, which is kind of rare because these weren't the most reliable handles out there. Knob's in decent shape. It's got the indentation for high, medium, and low labeling. It's got some paint scuffs on there. And the back is kind of interesting. There's like integrated feet onto the guard. These guards have become very brittle, so how strong and reliable that's going to be, I don't know. Let's take a look at the informations. It is a model 4433A, 115 volts, 1.0 amps. And that's where things start to get interesting, because that's not a mistake. 60 Hertz, Toastmaster Incorporated, Boonville, Montana 65233. The front guard is in excellent condition, no missing slots. Not really severely yellowed. It's not as brittle as some other ones, but it's certainly on the way there. I've always liked the logo in the top corners. In this case, it's over there in the top left. I tend to like it there better than in the center, because then you can see the whole center of the blade. Now let's move to the back, and here's where things get very interesting. So the cord comes out the middle. It's a very short cord. I don't even think it's 5 feet. It's polarized. And the motor is a little tuna can PSC motor. And then something weird happened to the guard at some point. It got all melted and mangled, which is really kind of weird. It's a very odd failure. I don't know what on earth happened to this. It definitely, it's super brittle here in comparison to the rest of it. So this definitely like melted at some point, and then it's kind of disfigured here. It's messed up over here. I don't know what on earth it would have been up against that would cause that in such a concentrated areas. I really don't think so that that was caused by the fan or any kind of malfunction of the fan itself, because it's not centered over the motor. There's nothing here that would make heat. So it must have been something external to the fan. But that is very unfortunate. Granted, these guards I don't think are that uncommon. The fans themselves aren't that uncommon. This particular motor is uncommon, but I don't know if there's a difference between the guards on the more common motor variants and this one. Probably not. So let's take a look at this motor. It's about the same size as we saw in Lasco and Lakewood in the 2000s. So it kind of makes me wonder how old this really is. Maybe this is much newer than I'm thinking it is. There's the capacitor. Whoa, it is a... It's a Vim. I'm not familiar with that branding, and the camera does not want to show it. It's got like a square stator on there. It really looks pretty similar to the motors that that Lasco would have used. Alright, we're going to have to take the guard off this. This is not cooperating in the slightest here. But there it is. It's very, very odd. I've never seen anything like this in terms of these Toastmaster box fans. It is old enough to still have the holes for the stand on both sides. So it's going to be very interesting here to see in just a moment what the performance is like, because this blade was pretty heavy for one of those tiny little motors. I don't know, I guess this is going to be underpowered, you know, because that, at least that pedal blade that Lasco used, it made of fairly thin plastic and it's pretty lightweight. These are made of decently thick plastic, and they're fairly heavy, and they're not super aerodynamic. Well, let's plug it in and find out. So we're looking at 118.5 the volts right now. We'll go over to the amps and we're going to start it up on the low. Sounds kind of weird. Well, I haven't used the other one in the last couple days, so my memory of it's getting a little bit stale, but that doesn't seem particularly slow. Power draw is 0.62 the amps, 72.5 the watts, with a power factor of 0.97. And as far as the airflow goes, it's about what I would expect from one of these. It's not the greatest, but you know, can I feel a draft halfway across the room? Yeah, I can. It's not very strong. I think there's definitely more powerful box fans out there, but it is moving some air. Got this back now. So you can see it is a pretty gentle breeze. But that's the way these were. You know, these were economy products, to say it nicely. These are not built for the best performance. And that's why I kind of wonder if these were intended to be a knockoff of the Lakewood 3rd generation. Because Lakewood at the time was still pretty well respected. The medium. Okay, now that seems slower to me than usual. We'll have to do another video side by side to compare them. This does seem a little bit slower to me. This is 0.79 amps, 93.3 watts with a power factor of 0.99. So of course the power draw on this is much more reasonable than the old, or I don't know if they're older, than the shaded pole variants. Keep the windows out of the camera. It is in pretty poor balance. Actually, that's not true. It doesn't feel all that bad, but it is shaking a bit. I don't know what it is with these plastic molded blades, but for some reason we can't ever seem to get them balanced. It should be so simple to mold a blade that's balanced. There's plowing everywhere. It's taking me out. You know, the airflow actually isn't that bad on this speed. It's kind of noisy, but all the way across the room, it's still kicking up the air. I do want to do a clean and service on this before we do a comparison, because I want both fans to be clean and in like new condition before we compare them. But this isn't that dirty. I don't think that the performance is going to change all that much. Pretty good air. And now the high. I think that that's not as strong as the PSC one was. Now look at it shake. Holy mackerel. The image stabilization probably has taken some of this out, but look at that. Oh, but that's ridiculous. And this table is not out of balance. The table is not out of balance. Well, that's true. The table is not out of balance. What I was trying to say is the table is not bent or angled or curved. It's perfectly flat. One of the only flat surfaces in this house. So, if it works like this on a flat surface, just imagine how bad this is on a carpet or on an unlevel floor. Okay, on the high, we have 1.03 amps. 112 watts with a power factor of 0.92, so it actually went down at full speed for some reason. And let's see how the airflow is. It's not bad. It's actually a little better than I thought it was, but I just think that there's much better box fans out there than this. Even at the time, there are better options. I think the Lasco D blades, which would have sold at or around the same time, were vastly superior to this. I can feel it a decent amount across the room now. And it's not as loud as I kind of worked it up today. It's definitely loud and it makes kind of an annoying noise. I think maybe it's just the type of sound it makes that bothers me more. It sounds like a stinking beehive. It feels totally out of balance like this, but then when you pick it up, it doesn't feel that bad, so I don't know why it's like that. The bearings seem plenty free still. I suspect this is a low hours model. Most people never clean these things. If you got one that's clean, it's probably because it was just never used. There's a little bit of dirt on the leading edge of the blades, and that's it. This is probably used for one season. The best way to tell is usually inside the motor, which is pretty consistent with the amount of dust on the blades. So I suspect this is low hours. Let's get a startup sound here. Oh man, the knob just broke. Well, or maybe it was broken. I don't see the other piece of plastic anywhere. Yeah, I guess the knob is busted. Well, what we can probably do is we can fill this in with hot glue, which is one of my favorite repair materials, and fix it. Yeah, we'll fix that somehow. That's not catastrophic. Alright, and now the high. Sounds kind of weird on low. It's a pretty quiet motor. Well, there we go. A very odd Toastmaster box fan. Has anybody seen one like this before? Let me know.